Imagine just for a second that you want to start a massive tech company.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about a full-blown ride-hailing empire right in your own city.
Yeah, really going toe-to-toe with the global giants.
Exactly. And if you're anything like me, your very first thought is immediately the software. You picture, the millions of dollars in research and development, the army of Silicon Valley engineers.
All the endless coding.
Right. The years of coding required just to get a little blue card and move smoothly across a map on a smartphone screen. But what if you could just skip the engineering entirely?
Which sounds impossible, but it's really not.
Yeah, what if the software running those billion-dollar apps is now essentially just a cheap commodity that you can buy off the shelf?
It completely flips the script on how we even think about tech startups today. I mean, if we look at the source material we're exploring in this deep dive, which is a highly detailed 2026 guide from a company called Enatega.
Right, the one on how to launch a taxi business?
Exactly. Using what they call a bitaksiclone. And we uncover this really fascinating modern reality. The real hurdle to building a tech empire isn't the code anymore.
Because the code is already solved.
Exactly. The code is solved. The hurdle is literally everything else.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because when I was reading through the Enatega guide, the whole concept of a clone app was honestly an entirely new way of thinking about software for me.
Yeah, it's a huge paradigm shift.
It really is. For anyone listening who hasn't encountered this before, a clone script is like, well, imagine deciding to build a house, but instead of mixing your own concrete and pouring the foundation and drawing up architectural blueprints from scratch.
You just buy a prefabricated house.
Right. You just buy the prefab house. You are purchasing a ready-made white label replica of a proven app's architecture.
What's fascinating here is that a clone script gives you the entire foundational infrastructure right out of the box. You aren't just getting one single app.
It's a whole suite of them, right?
Exactly. A true ride-hailing clone provides the passenger app for booking, the driver app for navigation and earnings, and then the back-end admin panel to monitor the whole operation.
Which is wild to think about.
It really is. The complex engineering is already done. So in theory, this allows a local entrepreneur to focus their energy entirely on finding product market fit and managing daily operations.
To really grasp why buying a clone of an app called BiTaksi is considered so valuable today, we have to look back at the original blueprint. Like, we really have to rewind to Istanbul in 2012.
Oh, absolutely. That origin story is crucial.
And just to put that into context for you listening, this is long before Uber ever even entered the Turkish market. Now, my natural assumption when I hear about a ride-hailing app succeeding is that the city must have had, a massive shortage of taxis.
Right, that they suddenly created a supply of drivers.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case at all, was it?
Not even close.
Yeah.
That is the standard narrative, sure. But Istanbul in 2012 challenges that completely. At that time, Istanbul already had roughly 17,000 yellow taxis physically on the road.
Wow. 17,000?
Yeah, 17,000. Finding a ride was not the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, the physical cars were everywhere, practically on every single corner.
So wait, if there's no shortage of cars, why inject technology into the mix at all? I mean, if the supply is already there, what was the actual problem?
The friction was entirely behavioral and systemic. The passenger experience was just plagued by opaque fares. You'd get in a cab having no real idea what the final price would be.
Oh, which is so stressful.
Extremely. And you had completely unverified drivers and unverified passengers getting into cars together, which creates an inherent anxiety for both parties.
Right.
And because of that friction, routine arguments at the end of rides over the road taken on final cost were just a standard accepted part of the transportation experience in Istanbul.
So BiTaksi didn't solve a supply problem.
No, BiTaksi succeeded because it solved a deep-rooted trust problem.
I love that distinction. It's like they didn't try to invent a new kind of restaurant. They just built a radically better reservation and payment system for the restaurants that already existed.
That's a great way to put it. The beauty of the BiTaksi model was its integration with reality. They brought a digital dispatch layer, metered cashless payments, and transparency to a fleet of taxis that was already licensed and already operating.
Which totally sidesteps a lot of modern headaches.
Exactly. By doing that, they bypassed the entire gig economy controversy we see so often today. There were no debates about unlicensed drivers or, worker classification.
Because the drivers using BiTaksi were already professional, heavily regulated taxi drivers.
Yeah, they just made the existing system work better.
That makes a lot of sense. The technology just acts as a friction remover. It takes away the curbside scramble and the anxiety of wondering if the meter is rigged. You just tap a screen, watch a boudot arrive, and get in.
Exactly. It's seamless.
So, seeing how brilliant that original model was, my instinct as a potential business owner is that buying a replica of that tech is the ultimate shortcut. Like, I pay my fee, I download the Enatega clone script, and boom, suddenly I am the CEO of a functioning tech company.
Well, and that right there is the illusion of the turnkey business.
The illusion.
Yeah. It provides the digital architecture, sure, but the physical reality of the business remains entirely on your shoulders. Returning to your prefab house analogy from earlier,
Right.
buying the house doesn't magically buy the land to put it on, and it definitely doesn't appease the local zoning board. The Enatega guide makes it very, very clear that buying a clone script comes with massive exclusions.
Wait, so if I buy this entire software package, I don't actually have a business yet. I just have a digital empty room.
I mean, a beautifully designed, highly functional empty room. But yes, the software does not come with local legal compliance.
Oh, true. Laws are so different everywhere.
Wildly different. Taxi laws, licensing rules, insurance regulations, they differ wildly, not just from country to country, but literally from city to city.
Yeah.
An app configured for the legal requirements of London might be entirely illegal to operate in Mumbai.
Wow.
Furthermore, the clone does not come with a single driver. You have to recruit and onboard every individual yourself.
Right, the software doesn't magically create employees.
Exactly, and it doesn't come with passenger acquisition, meaning you have to engineer all the marketing. And crucially, it doesn't include the human customer support infrastructure required to handle, say, a passenger leaving their laptop in the backseat at 2 a.m.
Which is a pretty stark reality check. You buy the tech, but you still have to build the entire human element of the company.
Yeah. By the year 2026, modern clone scripts are incredibly stable. Years ago, older versions were riddled with bugs or weak GPS tracking.
I'll remember those early apps. So frustrating.
Right, but today, the underlying code is fast and reliable. However, that baseline reliability just proves the point. The technology itself is no longer your competitive advantage. Anyone can buy the software.
So what is the advantage?
The real defensible value of your business is your local market knowledge and your daily operational execution.
Okay, so if the tech is just an empty room, my first instinct as an entrepreneur is to dump my entire budget into passenger marketing. I'd want to buy billboards, run massive social media campaigns across the whole city, get 1 million downloads, and just assume the drivers will naturally flock to the platform because of the passenger demand. Does that work?
Actually, that is the fastest way to kill a multi-sided marketplace before it even begins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The source material outlines a hyper-local, strictly phased blueprint for launching. And it strongly warns against citywide marketing on day one.
Interesting. So what do you do instead?
It starts with direct physical validation. The guide insists you must go out and have face-to-face conversations with 50 drivers and 50 passengers.
Wait, face-to-face, not an emailed survey.
Not a survey. A real, actual dialogue.
What are you actually trying to find out in those conversations? Just whether they like the app's logo or something?
No. You're looking for the economic and emotional pain points. With drivers, you ask how much of their daily income is currently being lost to traditional dispatch middlemen.
Find out what hurts their wallet.
Exactly. You're trying to figure out what financial guarantee would make them switch to your platform. And with passengers, you ask what the absolute worst part of taking a taxi is in their specific neighborhood.
Right, like what's actually broken for them.
Yes. You need to know what specific failure of the current system will motivate them to break their daily habits and actually download a new app.
Which means you can't just treat the whole city as one big homogeneous zone. The Enatega guide actually says the biggest mistake is trying to launch citywide. Instead, you're supposed to pick a tiny 3-kilometer radius to start.
Precision is everything in the beginning. You need to know that 3-kilometer radius better than anyone else.
Like knowing the actual streets.
Yeah. You need to know which specific streets flood when it rains, creating a sudden spike in ride demand. You need to know exactly which hotels have foreign tourists desperately looking for an English-speaking driver at 2 a.m. You dominate that tiny geographic area first.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Once you have that 3-kilometer radius defined, the guide emphasizes building the driver network before you even think about passengers.
Absolutely.
It says you need 30 to 50 active drivers operating in that tight circle. You might even have to pay those drivers a guaranteed hourly rate for their first 30 days just to keep them logged into an app that currently has 0 customers.
It requires a massive shift in perspective, doesn't it? The passenger is not your first customer. The driver is.
It totally flips the model.
Yeah.
The product isn't the slick app you just bought. The product is the drivers. It's exactly like throwing an exclusive nightclub party.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Like, you absolutely must get the cool guests, in this case, the reliable drivers inside the club, comfortable and happy before you open the front doors to the general public. Because if a user sees a billboard, downloads your app, requests a ride, and has to stare at their phone for 15 minutes waiting for a car to arrive.
They're gone.
Exactly. They won't just close the app, they will delete it forever, and you will never get them back.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what you're describing is the extreme operational discipline required to balance a multi-sided platform.
It's a juggling act.
It really is. You are coordinating 3 actors simultaneously. The passenger who wants a ride right now, the driver who wants to maximize their hourly earnings, and the platform that needs to match them perfectly in real time.
That is a lot to manage all at once.
Which is why a tightly controlled launch in a 3-kilometer radius where you know you have enough drivers to guarantee a 3-minute wait time will beat a sloppy, under-resourced, citywide launch every single time.
That makes total sense. You want a dense concentration of supply. And once those drivers are locked in, you don't just throw the doors open. The guide recommends a soft launch restricted entirely to referral-only passengers.
Right, because you want to fail small and learn quickly. Mistakes are inevitable in those first few weeks.
Oh, definitely.
The GPS might glitch, a driver might misunderstand the payment interface, or, a route calculation might be wildly off.
And if you're citywide, that's a disaster.
Exactly. If you launch too big, too fast, you'll rack up a flood of 1-star App Store reviews, and those are permanent. A soft launch allows you to fix the operational leaks with a forgiving audience before you spend a dime on mass marketing.
Speaking of spending dimes, we have to talk about the actual financials of running this clone. Because, you've got your 3-kilometer radius, your 50 drivers are cruising around, the party is starting.
Right.
But the snacks at this party are way more expensive than you might anticipate. The guide breaks down the hidden costs of scaling, and it is a massive wake-up call for anyone who thinks $3,000 buys them an empire.
It is vital to understand the difference between the vendor's advertised license fee and the actual operational cost. Like, a vendor might advertise a clone license for anywhere from $3,000 to $12,000 as a one-time fee.
Which sounds incredibly cheap.
It does. But that merely grants you access to the base code.
Right, because immediately after you buy it, you have to customize it. I mean, if you just want to swap out the generic logo for your brand colors, sure, that's usually free. But what if you are launching in a market that uses a right-to-left language, like Arabic or Urdu?
That changes everything.
Yeah. If the base script was built exclusively for left-to-right languages like English, adapting the entire user interface so it doesn't break can take weeks of development time. The guide notes that customization can quickly balloon your costs anywhere from $2,000 to $25,000.
And beyond customization, you face the ongoing reality of cloud infrastructure. A real-time ride-hailing app is incredibly demanding on servers. The system relies on something called persistent WebSockets to maintain live tracking.
Okay, hold on. Can you break down what a WebSocket actually is? Because for a non-developer, that just sounds like tech jargon.
Sure. Think of a normal website visit like sending a letter in the mail. You ask the server for a web page, the server sends the page back, and the connection closes.
Okay, got it.
A WebSocket, on the other hand, is like a continuously open phone line between the driver's phone and the passenger's phone. It never hangs up.
Oh, wow. So it's constantly active.
Constantly. It is constantly updating that little blue dot on the map every single second. Keeping thousands of those phone lines open simultaneously requires massive continuous server power.
And server power isn't free.
Not at all. You're looking at $300,000 to $2,000 a month just to keep the digital lights on so the app doesn't crash when 50 people request a ride at the exact same time.
But the detail that completely rewired how I view these apps was the Google Maps API cost.
Oh, yes. The map tolls.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guide estimates it at $200 to $5,000 plus a month. It's like paying a toll every time a customer simply looks at the menu, not just when they order the food.
It really adds up.
Hold on, you're telling me every single time a user casually searches a location or just sits there watching the little blue car move down the street on their screen, it's a tiny cash register ringing for Google. That's wild.
It is a profound realization for new operators. When you build your business on top of another giant's infrastructure, you pay their tolls.
Always.
Even if your platform is only completing 500 rides a day, the app is quietly generating thousands and thousands of API requests in the background for route calculations, live location data, rendering the map tiles on the screen.
And all of that costs money.
Fractions of a cent, yes, but those fractions add up incredibly fast, and new business owners rarely factor it into their monthly burn rate.
And then there is the App Store compliance labor. The actual fees sound cheap at first. Like Apple charges $99 a year, Google has a $25 one-time fee. But the guide points out that staying in those stores is a constant treadmill.
The upfront fees are totally negligible compared to the human labor required to maintain compliance. Apple and Google are constantly updating their operating systems.
Oh, I know. My phone is updating constantly.
Right. They're altering their privacy rules and changing their security requirements. If you don't invest the developer resources into doing at least one major code update every single year just to satisfy their new rules, your app will simply get booted from the store.
So you can't just set it and forget it.
No, ongoing maintenance is non-negotiable.
So when you add up the reality of the situation, the license, the localization, the heavy cloud servers, the map tools, and the ongoing maintenance, the realistic total cost for your first year is anywhere between $15,000 and $60,000.
That's the reality.
Which is a long way from a simple $3,000 download.
The initial sticker shock is definitely real. However, if you compare a $60,000 first-year cost to the millions of dollars and years of time it would take to hire an engineering team to build this architecture from scratch,
Oh, it's still a massive bargain.
it remains a staggering discount on entry into the tech sector.
So what does this all mean? If you have $60,000 on the line in year one, how does an independent local operator actually make that investment back?
That's the big question.
Right. Why would someone go through all this operational headache, deal with the map tolls and the driver recruitment, instead of just letting Uber or Bolt handle the market and maybe signing up to drive for them?
It all comes down to reclaiming power through monetization and total operational control. When you operate a white label clone, you are not subject to a global platform's opaque algorithm.
Or their sudden fee changes.
Exactly. No sudden unilateral policy changes. You establish your own custom branding, and most importantly, you dictate your own pricing and revenue streams based on the reality of your specific city.
The Enatega guide lays out a few ways to structure that revenue. The most obvious is the standard ride commission.
The classic model.
Yeah. They suggest starting low, taking maybe a 10% to 12% cut from each ride to attract those initial drivers away from competitors, and then eventually scaling up to a 20% commission once your app becomes an essential part of their daily livelihood.
That works. But the true power of an independent platform lies in alternative revenue models that global giants often struggle to implement locally. Driver subscription plans are a perfect example of this.
How does that work?
Instead of taking a percentage of every single ride, you charge the drivers a flat monthly fee to use the software. And in exchange, they keep 100% of their fares.
Oh, wow. That's a huge incentive for the driver.
Huge. This provides the platform with steady, predictable revenue, and it makes the drivers fiercely loyal. They are financially incentivized to use your app as much as possible to maximize the return on their subscription.
That's really smart. The guide also emphasizes targeting corporate accounts. You can partner directly with local businesses to manage all their employee transportation on a fixed monthly contract.
That's a fantastic strategy.
Right. That brings in consistent, guaranteed ride volume, and businesses are usually much less sensitive to slight price variations than, say, a casual user trying to get home on a Friday night. Plus, once you have thousands of people staring at your app every day waiting for a ride, you literally own a highly targeted digital billboard. You can sell in-app advertising directly to local restaurants or hotels along the route.
You combine those strategies, subscriptions, corporate contracts, local advertising, and fixed-fare airport partnerships. When a disciplined operator implements these in an underserved mid-sized city, the financial timeline is actually quite promising.
How promising.
Well, the guide suggests that a well-run clone can reach a positive contribution margin, meaning the core business operations are profitable within 12 to 18 months.
That's incredibly fast for a tech startup.
It is.
Yeah.
But we must balance that optimism with a stern warning from the text. A clone script is not magic. If you launch a poorly planned platform in a market that is already completely saturated with competitors, you will fail.
Right.
The software simply cannot save a bad business plan.
This has been such a revealing deep dive into the realities of modern software. For you listening, the biggest takeaway is really this. The technology required to build a world-class ride-hailing empire is no longer locked away behind Silicon Valley gatekeepers.
It's accessible to almost anyone.
Exactly. You can literally buy the exact same digital architecture for a fraction of the cost. But, as the Enatega guide so clearly proves, buying the tech is the easy part. The real test is your operational discipline, your deep, hyper-local knowledge of that 3-kilometer radius, and your ability to build genuine human trust with your drivers and your community.
This raises an important question, and it's something I want to leave you with today. If perfectly functioning white-label clone scripts can replicate billion-dollar tech infrastructures for pennies on the dollar, what happens to the whole concept of a tech monopoly?
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. If any highly motivated local operator with $60,000 in strong community ties can instantly become a giant's biggest rival in their own hometown, maybe the future of tech isn't global domination. Maybe it's hyper-local rebellion. Just something to think about the next time you watch a little blue car moving across your screen.